What's going on in beat making, people? You're watching How to Make Beats with the Faceless Producer, and in this episode we're going to look at how to use the FL Studio software. So boom, let's get into this. Firstly, you want to make sure that you got your settings in order, and that's your sound card and MIDI settings, which can be accessed by pushing F10, or you can use the options menu, and you're just going to go to your MIDI and audio various settings and set up your program so that it's using your sound card. Also, another thing which is useful is FL Studio's hint function, whereby anything you hover above in the top left hand corner, you will see it gives you an indication as to what the function is. So for instance, you can see that's the tempo, that's the pattern selector, etc, etc. As the program's original name suggests, FL Studio is a looped based program, and basically you're going to spend most of your time working with the step sequencer to create patterns. So this is a step sequencer, and it is made up of channels, and these channels are essentially the instruments that are in your song. Now you can create different types of channels by right clicking and go into insert and then select a channel, or insert a channel as the name suggests. Now the most commonly used types of channel are MIDI and sampler channels. Now sampler channels are used to trigger samples such as this kick drum, for instance. You can drag anything that's an audio file into this window. So if I drag this actually into the sampler channel, you'll see that now it's also a kick drum. Now MIDI channels are used to trigger VST instruments, and they need to be loaded from the mixer. We'll get to that shortly, but you just need to keep in mind that all you need to do is feed the MIDI out channel into the instrument by matching the out port number here to the instrument's in port number, as I've done on this commonly used plugin, if you can clock the name. So you can see the import is matching that, and if I click on the MIDI channel, you'll see you can insert any one of the various instruments also that come supplied with FL Studio, such as Citrus. So again, if you just go to insert Citrus, you'll notice that whatever plugin that you have always has this same interface with this, gray bar at the top, these arrows. Now this is called the wrapper. It's not like I got bars kind of wrapper. It's a wrapper with a W. Yeah, the silent W as they call it. If you click on the drop down menu here, you'll find there's various options to choose from, such as making this detached, whereby I can now drag it without boundaries. If you click on the arrows in the top right of the wrapper, plugins that are native to FL Studio and some others will let you access the various instruments in the plugin or its presets if it's in effect, such as reverb or EQ. By default, the step sequencer is divided into beats on a 4x4 time signature. Now for most people, this is all they will ever need. If you like your waltz or other time signatures that are a bit more unconventional, you just need to hit F10, go to project, and then go to general, and then you can change your bars and your beats. All you need to do to create a pattern is to click on the little buttons, and this kind of makes programming drums very, very easy. So for instance, you can actually right click on a channel and fill the pattern that way, such as fall to the floor. Now if you want to delete a channel, you just right click on it and then click delete. If you want to hide or show the step sequencer, you can use F6 as a shortcut, or if you like clicking buttons, you can just go up here on the toolbar and do it that way. The alternative to the step sequencer is the piano roll. You can right click on any channel and send the current note data to the piano roll like this, and then send to piano roll. You can also create inside of the piano roll by clicking next to the relevant note on the keyboard. So if you bring it back up by clicking the piano or F7, then all you need to do is just click next to the relevant notes that you're trying to create. In your top left hand corner, you've got a bunch of tools which can be accessed quite easily through shortcuts. So for example, if I hold Control, click and drag, I can make a selection. Now if I hold Shift instead, click and drag, I can copy that selection. If I want to extend the note, I just go to the edge of the note and just extend it. If I hold Shift and use the up or down arrows, I can shift the selection a semitone at a time. If I wanted to shift the selection an octave at a time, I would hold Control instead and use the arrow up or down. Other useful tools are your zoom tool, which is Control and right click. You can make a selection. If you want to go back to normal, you just Control and right click again in empty space. The cut tool, for instance, I can just cut all these notes there, press delete. The brush tool, which you can access using B, has the advantage of programming several notes with a single click and drag. Another thing worth noting is the snap function in this drop down menu here. This basically changes the quantization or the timing of how the notes are input. I kind of wish they would label it in the same way that Logic Pro does, eighth, quaver, and so forth, as it can be kind of confusing. But if you're a musician, it's still fairly straightforward. If we just bring up the quantization by pressing Alt and Q, or if you like pushing buttons, you can always go to your tools. You've got a bar, which is a semi-brief or a whole note. A beat is a crotchet or a quarter note. Half a beat is a quaver or an eighth note. A step is a 16th note or a semi-quaver. Half a step is a 32nd note or a demi-semi-quaver. And quarter step is a 64th note or a hemi-demi-semi-quaver. Let me just say that again. A hemi-demi-semi-quaver. Then also you have your third beat, which is your triplet 3/4 notes or dotted eighth. Then you have your sixth beat, which is your 6/8 notes. Now you can rename these if you prefer to see the numerical values, but your changes basically are not gonna be reflected in this drop down menu. I'm gonna explain these quantized settings. Your start time shifts the start time. Amazing, isn't it? I can't believe that. This is based off the snap, whatever you have, in your groove template. It's worth noting actually that you can nudge the start time manually. So if you notice the notes are moving ever so slightly, that's useful if you want to create sort of a human feel, because humans don't play bang on the beat. We're not robots. So, I mean, some of us are, but most of us are not. Your duration quantizes the length of the note based on this snap or groove template. Your sensitivity is basically a strength setting. Leave duration quantizes only the start of the note, and leave end time preserves the place where the note ends. If I click up here where it says velocity, I can access another drop down menu where I can access settings of the note, such as note pan, and that is basically where your note is in the stereo field. The highest value is the furthest right, and the lowest value is the furthest left. So let's kind of show you what's going on. Velocity is basically your volume, even though technically velocity is speed in a given direction. If you want to make the note lower, you just pull it down. It's kind of obvious, really. If you want to make it higher, you push it higher. You can turn the note off by pulling it to its lowest value. One more thing before we move on. We can scale the notes one by one, or we can do it all at a time by pushing Alt and X and adjusting them as a group. Okay, look, I'm not going to win any Grammys for this beat anytime soon, but you get the picture. You can hide or show the piano roll using the F7 shortcut key. If you want to get rid of it, you just click the X. If you want to bring it back and you love pushing buttons and moving your mouse around, then you can always just go here and hit it. Some producers use a pattern as the whole song. Now, there's nothing wrong with that per se, but if you want to make music and not just a loop, then you're going to need to arrange your pattern in the playlist. All you need to do is hit F5 to bring it up. Also, you want to select song as your playback mode rather than your pattern. You can also shift between these two by using the shortcut L. So to select which pattern you're using to paste to the playlist, you just use this drop down menu here and then select which pattern you want. If you right click on that section, you can get a preview of the pattern, which could be useful sometimes as well. And then you just literally paste it to your playlist. Any pattern can be placed on the tracks, but for organization, it's basically a good idea to keep your instruments separated. So for example, have your kick drum on track 1, have your snare drum on track 2, etc, etc. Now the little LEDs on the tracks enable you to mute or solo. If you right click, you get solo. If you just click it, then you can mute them. Right clicking on each track brings up a menu which gives you several functions which are pretty much self-explanatory really. Using your scroll wheel with Control or Alt, adjust your horizontal or vertical scale respectively. And just like the piano roll, you have the same set of tools up here and also the snap function up here. Just like the piano roll, the shortcuts also come in handy, such as holding shift, clicking and dragging to copy. The numbers at the top here represent the bars in the song, and you can double click and create selection to play, and that will play basically in a loop. If you want to remove that selection, you just double click outside of it. Once the song is arranged, you will need to mix it down, and everything must run through the mixer. If we go back to the step sequencer, you will notice that in each channel, other than MIDI channels, you have a little window here with a number. This refers to the mixing channel it's assigned to. Now, to go wherever the channel is routed to in the mixer, you can double click on it, and that's going to bring up the mixer. You can see this is going through channel or insert 1, as it's called on FL Studio. Different instruments have different sonic signatures, so you're going to need to send different channels to different mixing inserts by changing the number on each one respectively. The mixer is also where you add instruments to be linked to MIDI out channels, and also the effects that are going to alter your sound, such as an equalizer for instance. And you can do that by clicking on these slots here and inserting instruments or effects here. To add a new VST, click a slot on the mixing channel, then go to More, which is right at the top of your instrument list, and then any new plugins should be highlighted. Just click the box and click refresh and use the recommended scan. You can use F9 to hide or show the mixer. Now the browser offers a convenient place to organize your files such as audio files, project files, instruments and effect presets, etc. You can preview audio files by clicking on them or send them to the selected channel using the middle click. For instance, that's a preview. Middle click sends it to the selected channel. Also, you can access the menu with this little drop down, the top left. The middle arrow allows you to collapse all expanded folders, and the right one lets you refresh the browser. For instance, say you've added some new stuff. Now if we go to our settings, F10, and then we go to File, we can add folders to the browser. Now if you want to hide or show the browser, you can just hit F8. That's actually quite useful to create space if you need it. Another thing worth knowing is that you can automate virtually anything in the program. So for instance, if I wanted to have a tempo change, I could just go right click on it, create an automation clip, or I could do it manually by hitting record and then changing the value during recording. You want to probably have an empty pattern for that. so that your automation data is not going to be mixed up with your instrument data. But I'm not going to go into that really at this point because I'm going to cover that in a dedicated episode. To export, you can go to File, Export, select Wave, or there's also a shortcut of pushing Control and R and then changing your format with that little drop down menu there. And then you just select where you want to output your file. Once you hit save, it's going to bring up a dialog box. All you might need to change from the defaults is the quality, essentially. And this drop down menu kind of goes from lower quality to highest quality. The higher the quality, the more strain it's going to put on your computer's processor. So if your computer's whack, you might want to play with that setting. Then just hit start. And then, boom, bam, bim. When you hear that little digital ping, that means the cooking is finished and you can enjoy your fresh beat out of the oven. Remember, ultimately, it's your creativity that's going to make something magic or something tragic. So there you have it. Boom, I'm gone. One.